Welcome back to We Need to Talk, everybody. Of course, no Joe Tomlinson this week. He's out in Barcelona, so I've stepped up to the plate. And as you can see by the title of this video, we need to talk about Cristiano Ronaldo. Yes, a few years ago, we did a video similar to this where we looked at the players that were called the next Lionel Messi and ranked how their careers had gone. Obviously, just like then, nobody could reach the level of Lionel Messi, and so quite possibly here, nobody can really reach the level of Cristiano Ronaldo. Both, especially Lionel Messi and Ronaldo, have had incredible careers, winning ridiculous amounts of trophies, scoring ridiculous amounts of goals, and so we've kind of made a tier list depending on that. Now, obviously, Ronaldo is known as CR7, and so today we've got our categories as CR6, CR4, CR5, CR3, and CR0 as well. Now, look, if you don't know how a tier list works, basically the top is you're the very best, the bottom is you are absolutely dog shit. And the way we're going to be doing this as well is possibly the likeness, and maybe the positions that they played, the way they play their football, but overall it's about the career they've had as well, especially when they were called the next Cristiano Ronaldo. So let's kick things off with none other than a Portuguese winger who actually played with Cristiano Ronaldo at times in the national setup, Ricardo Quaresma, who himself liked to have a bit of flair. I think especially when Ronaldo first had his career, or at least when he was at Manchester United, especially when he was younger, he was always quite a flair player. And so, I mean, at Real Madrid as well, he was the same. As he got older and became more of a striker, I think that's when we started to see this just clinical goal scorer. But I can understand why there were links to him being like Ronaldo, especially the fact he's Portuguese and a winger, as I said. Career-wise, had a decent career. Played at the likes of Chelsea, Inter Milan, Barcelona, Porto, and he won some decent trophies. However, he's not obviously a CR6. I don't really even think he's a CR4. I think it's a CR3, which is like a good career. Like, if I had that career, or any of you guys had that career, I think you'd be happy to tell your grandkids that you won these decent amount of trophies. Obviously, won some in Portugal, and that, like, you know, you came to the Premier League, you played for the likes of Barcelona. I don't think you'll be complaining. Next up is Guedes. Now, I think there's a few players here where it might be a little bit too early to kind of say how their career has exactly gone either way. Guedes is one that I think is kind of in that boat. Look, he obviously had a fantastic time in La Liga. He obviously then got his move to PSG. Didn't work out at PSG at all. At all. He has won the Copa del Rey. He's technically won the Ligue 1 as well, but that's, you know, didn't really feature that often. So for PSG, it's okay. Obviously, that Wolves now hasn't gone very well. Wolves now at Benfica. Thing is, he's 26 now. Again, when you're looking at like the likes of Ronaldo's career, and you were called kind of the next Cristiano Ronaldo, maybe mainly because you were Portuguese, I don't think it's necessarily anything close to CR6, and so I think it's probably more half that, CR3. It's not CR0, and maybe if there's a CR2 it could go there, but it's CR3, and who knows, maybe there's a chance he revives his career. Up next is Marcus Rashford. I mean, I can understand kind of why there are similarities. Manchester United, you're going to see this a few times. It'll be either Portuguese, Manchester United, maybe Real Madrid, so on and so forth. Now, he might not have won as much as some of these players, obviously. United have had some tough periods. He's still incredibly young, only 25. Obviously has abundance of talent. I mean, the way he hits the ball sometimes reminds you a lot of Cristiano Ronaldo. Just the sheer power he gets onto his shots. This season, obviously, he's been fantastic as well. Originally, there's times when he's played through the middle, played on the left as well, like Ronaldo. And so I think he will be a CR5. I think he can get to CR6. I really do. And when you see the names that I'm going to put in CR6, I think you'll understand why I feel like it's probably a little bit harsh to put Rashford in there just yet. This is a guy who can get to CR6, and maybe if he has kind of the equivalent season he's having this season, next season, then he deserves to go in there. But right now, he hasn't won league titles like Ronaldo had at this age. He hadn't won the Champions League, so on and so forth. So if we're looking at like CR7 kind of name, the Cristiano Ronaldo name, you're the next Cristiano Ronaldo, I think CR5 is respectable. Gabriel Martinelli, if we're talking about players that could possibly be winning league titles like Cristiano Ronaldo, he is close. Very close. It'll be interesting to see how the season works out for him. It's also very early on in his career as well. And again, this is another guy who features on the left wing, has possibly a future going down the middle as well. He's incredibly exciting, loves taking on players, has a fantastic shot on him. This is a guy who I can understand why there are resemblements between him and Ronaldo. Whether I think he's being called the next Cristiano Ronaldo every single week, again, there are a few here where I was a little bit confused, as I don't really understand at times why they've been called that. But again, for Gabriel Martinelli, there are a few shouts out there, as I mentioned, that are a little bit out there. But for Martinelli, I'm going to put him in CR5. Now, has he been doing it at this consistent level as long as Marcus Rashford has? Maybe not so much, but he's obviously doing it in a season where they could go on to win the Premier League. If he then continues this, which it does look like he's going to, he's always been an exciting, fantastic player. It was just very early on. He had those injuries. It looks like he's got past that, which is amazing. I think everyone kind of believed that he was a great player. It was just whether he could stay fit to do that. And it looks like he is. So CR5 for now. Next season could easily be CR6. Bruma. Now, I remember when Bruma was coming through that there was a lot of exciting talk about him. Again, obviously another Portuguese player. But it's never really worked out at many clubs for him, unfortunately. He's now on loan at Braga. Obviously, he had spent time at Galatasaray. He's not even playing. He's 28 now, and I think he will be our first one into CR0. Okay, it's time for Rafael Leao. This is a guy who is extremely exciting. Obviously, Milan, in terms of the league form this season, have dipped compared to last year, but he's only 23 years old. He's already won Serie A. He's been super exciting throughout his career so far. Again, you can see the links to why he's been called the next Cristiano Ronaldo. Portuguese, plays on the wing, has actually a very similar build to obviously Ronaldo does. He's 6'2". He's obviously quite strong and physically good. And so I think this is a guy who you can understand. You can understand why he's been called the next Ronaldo. Where he goes in the list, I think, is CR5. Again, the fact he's already won the league, the fact he's already being looked at as a player that's going to cost over £100 million to get, he is super, super exciting. I think having him in this kind of trio with Rashford and Martinelli feels like it makes sense career-wise. Again, they could all be going into CR6 next season if they continue their good form or pick it up, depending on what happens. And so yeah, I think they're solid to go in CR5 right now. But Rafael Leao makes sense. Next up is Joao Felix. Now, this is a guy who very much, out of all of them, was called the next Cristiano Ronaldo the most. I remember when he broke through at Benfica, everybody saying was, this is the guy, next Ronaldo. Because obviously the similarities are a youngster has broken out in Liga NOS, kind of like Ronaldo did, and people were talking about this huge fee. And to be fair, Ronaldo wasn't this huge fee as to the degree of Felix, but this huge fee to go and get him. And I think when you look at his career, it's probably not gone the way most people would have expected after that breakout campaign with Benfica. Especially, it was really the second half of the season that was super impressive. He's only 23 still. I think at Chelsea, we spoke about on Sunday Vibes. I don't think it's probably worked out exactly, but then, to be honest, at Chelsea, not much has. I think he's obviously a player that is super exciting, that is super talented. But there's still things we worked on. And when you look at maybe where these guys are in CR5, I think right now is probably a CR4. But this is a guy that literally next season could be here, and maybe later on in his career he could be in CR6. But right now, like his career in general, he's won La Liga with Atletico Madrid. Super impressive. He's not quite taken that next step yet, if I'm being completely honest. And so I think CR4 is respectable. I'm fine with him going there. And again, as I said, he's a guy who can go up there and to the next level. And if he really does want to be the next Cristiano Ronaldo, then he needs to probably step it up. Kylian Mbappe, look, let's keep it very sweet and simple, short and sweet, I think is the actual phrase. CR6, the guy's a freak. Ridiculous numbers. I mean, he really is his own thing. Again, don't really know if anybody was calling him the next Ronaldo. Again, can play on the wing, can play through the middle, I get it. But just this is a guy who, I think from day one, everyone was like, this is just Kylian Mbappe. Like, he's never really the next whatever. If anything, I think there's a little argument for the next R9, but whatever. This is just himself. So he is obviously outrageously good. Numerous amounts of league titles and honours to his name. Champions League final. He will be somebody we will obviously be speaking for a long time. Next up, Leroy Sané. And I think career-wise, Leroy Sané has gone a little bit under the radar. Now, he's obviously 27 now, but he's won numerous Premier Leagues. He's won numerous Bundesligas. He's been a really impressive player wherever he's been. Obviously, there's been the talk recently about the possible fight that broke out between him and Sadio Mane after the Champions League game against Man City. But that doesn't really have any relevance to here. I think I do recall him actually having, mentions of CR7's likeness when he was at Man City in the Premier League. And I can kind of see it a little bit. Voice just broke. I can kind of see it a little bit in the way he plays down that wing. But I think if we're being honest, CR5, like he's better than a CR4. He's had an incredible career. I don't think he's quite CR6 levels because that really is your Mbappe's. But he's a guy who's had a fantastic career and been really, really impressive wherever he's been. It'll be interesting to see whether he stays at Bayern Munich and what happens in his future. But overall, for this video, I think CR5 is really solid. Next up is Vinicius Jr., a guy who goes straight into CR6. I mean, he's won the Champions League. He's won league titles. He's only 22 years old. Now, he might not be quite as physical as Cristiano Ronaldo is, but after Ronaldo left, he kind of took that left wing slot, and he's just been ridiculous. This season, last season in particular, was incredible. The way he's linked up with Benzema, like he's become a mainstay in this Real Madrid side, and like he's one of the best wingers in the world. He really is. He's so much fun to watch. I watched him obviously play Chelsea at the Bernabeu just last night, and he caused Wesley Fofana such a tough game. I saw a lot of people kind of chatting about how obviously Wes maybe wasn't so good and Reece James, but sometimes you got to sit there and you go, you know what? He's one of the best players in the world. I'm not shocked. Like, he was incredible, man. CR6, he is one hell of a player. Next up is Shaqiri, and just like Quaresma, I think has had quite a decent career. Obviously, played for Bayern Munich, played for Inter Milan, played for Liverpool, has won league titles, played for Stoke City, has won Champions Leagues. But I think the issue for him is he was never the main man at these clubs. He was never the guy that was in the starting lineup week in, week out, part of the front three. He was always more of a bench option. And so, look, I'm not going to disrespect him, put him into CR0. I don't think that's fair. But I think he's probably CR3. Again, why he was called the next Ronaldo, not so sure. For some articles, I think just called anybody that was a winger the next Ronaldo. Giovanni Dos Santos now. Now, this list kind of ranges from players that are playing now, players that are retired, players that are towards the end of their career. Giovanni Dos Santos just doesn't compare to these guys. Just doesn't compare. Not have anywhere near the same careers. I mean, not had a bad career either. Obviously, went over to the MLS. I think that's absolutely fine. Not throwing any shade on him in that way, shape, or form. But just in terms of being called the next Ronaldo, he's nowhere near. Wilfried Zaha is an interesting one because obviously he made the step up to Manchester United from Crystal Palace at a very young age, playing under David Moyes. I think he's had a really solid Premier League career. He's now 30, obviously been really loyal to Crystal Palace since he's gone back. I think that's really commendable, and I do really respect it. He's also probably been better than Palace have been at times, and maybe deserves to be kind of playing in a club that's more of the top half of the table. His contract is into his last year, so it'll be interesting to see what he does for next season and the future, and you really do have to kind of honour his loyalty. But I think he is a C3. I mean, he's better than Guedes. Like, he could be a C4, but maybe I'm being a little bit of Prem biased if I put him into C4. I'll put him into C3. Interested to know your one, actually, your takes on Zaha and actually all of these guys and where they should be. But I think Wilf has been an exceptional player at times, and so don't know, maybe he's C4, you know. Okay, look, I'm going to put him in CR4. I feel kind of bad on Quaresma, maybe. He should be in CR4. Okay, Zaha CR4. I had him written down as CR3. Please let me know who you think. Should he be lower? Maybe Quaresma should be CR4. He's going in CR4 as well. Zaha and Quaresma are going in CR4. Gelson Martin's up next. Never really worked out for him, if we're being honest. Obviously, he is now 27 years old. He had a little bit of time at Atletico Madrid. Didn't really work out. Obviously, at Monaco, spent a good amount of his career. Played in the Portuguese national side. Again, you can understand why there are links to him. To be honest, if you're any exciting Portuguese forward, you've had links to being Cristiano Ronaldo. But I'm going to be honest, he's going in CR0. I think if there's like a CR1, he might go there because I don't think he's the level of these two here. But yeah, CR0. Francisco Drinkwao next. Now, obviously, another player that's been kind of exciting, but CR3. It's a guy who obviously has played for some interesting clubs, Barcelona, Wolves as well. But I don't know, he's just not quite... He was super, super exciting, and then kind of dropped off in form. Didn't quite kind of take it to that next level. So he is possibly going to still have a huge career as well. He's only 23, as I mentioned. But right now, he's not like the level of Ronaldo, so CR3. Gabriel Obertan next. Now, he is somebody that's obviously really interesting because he was signed as Cristiano Ronaldo's replacement at Manchester United. So Alex Ferguson spent £3 million on the Frenchman to get him from Bordeaux, to literally be his replacement, to be his direct replacement. And it didn't quite go that way, if we're being honest, did it? He went on to play for the likes of Wigan, Newcastle, and Levski Sofia, I should say. But is CR0. Like, when you are the guy that was meant to replace Ronaldo and have the career that you did, again, I never played football, so I'm, not going to disrespect it. Yeah, it's just not like Ronaldo, is it? Bebe up next. And look, if you're any player, especially in the year of 2010, that is Portuguese and joining Manchester United, you're going to be linked and have people looking at you as the next Cristiano Ronaldo. And Bebe definitely had that. There's that story, obviously, that Ferguson liked to watch his players before he signed them. That's how he went and got Ronaldo. He watched him play United in a friendly for Sporting. But apparently he never did that for Bebe, and he supposedly regretted it. They brought him in from the second division of Portugal. He scored 2 goals in 6 matches at Old Trafford. Look, he managed to go find himself in Spain. He's now playing for Real Zaragoza. He's 32. But look, when you compare to Ronaldo, and especially when you have those links of being a Portuguese player and playing for Manchester United, I'm afraid, Bebe, it's CR0. Jose Rodriguez now. I mean, it's no surprise you're being likened to the next Ronaldo when you're kind of having a similar hairstyle to him. Those spikes I always remember when he was at Real Madrid. And look, again, like another guy that Stoke City he has played for, that has come up again. Played for PSG, played for Real Madrid, won 2 Champions Leagues, won La Liga, won Ligue 1. So like in terms of having, respectable career and having the honours, then yeah, you tick that box for sure. However, he's yet to play over 70 games for a senior side. He's never been that man. And like, I kind of compare him in this list to kind of Shaqiri. And Shaqiri, I think, featured a lot more than and had a bigger impact than Jesse did. And so maybe it's harsher I'm about to put him. I think it's CR0. It is. It's CR0. Nani now, or Nani, as people say. I always get a little bit confused. But anyway, this is a guy who you're obviously going to be linked to Ronaldo because you were playing with him. You were great mates with him at Manchester United. And then when he moved on, everyone was kind of looking at like the Portuguese winger that was at Manchester United who was left. And so you can understand. And I really think not enough respect is given to Nani or Nani because he has had a super strong career. He spent 8 years at Manchester United. Did really well where else he went as well. Spent a good time in the MLS. 4 Premier Leagues, a Champions League, Euro 2016. He got in the Premier League Team of the Year. I mean, I don't think he's a CR6. I don't think he's the level of Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. But he's easily a CR5. easily. He's had a really good career, and at Manchester United, he developed from this youngster who obviously was when he went there, and became a real kind of solid, mature player by the end of his time at Old Trafford. And so, yeah, CR5. Last but not least, Anthony Martial, a guy who broke onto the scene, was super exciting, and so you can understand why the links were there. He's been at United now since 2015. He's won the FA Cup. He's won the Carabao Cup. He's won the Europa League. But unfortunately for him, he's had a lot of injuries. He is somebody that really was super exciting. I always remember that first season he had at United. He's, again, a guy that was a winger who now is a striker. But if we're being honest, it's a CR3. I think he had that one season where he scored 18 goals, and it really did like he was going to go on forward. But I just think it's not quite worked out for him, unfortunately. It's not been the career of Ronaldo. And again, as I mentioned, injuries have had a big part to play in that for himself. Maybe it's a little bit harsh. Maybe it should be a CR4, but that's where I'm going to leave it for now, guys. Please let me know what you guys think of these players. Should they be higher up? Should they be lower down? Have I missed out anyone? I feel like I have missed out some players, but when I was going through articles, like, these are names that kept coming up. I didn't want to do like one that like you'd never heard of before. So there we have it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this list of ranking the next Cristiano Ronaldos. And let me know what you think of this format as well. Again, get in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of some of these players. There are a few here that could easily jump up as well. They are still super, super young. So it'll be interesting to see. But that has been today's episode of We Need to Talk. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you have and want to watch more Football Daily content, then click on screen right now. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, what are you doing? Do me a favour here. Do me a favour. Click subscribe. And of course, like the video. And I'll see you guys very, very soon.